At the half-year mark, Sanlam has managed to deliver a strong operational performance, this despite a turbulent global operating environment. During the period, the insurer's new business volumes increased by 7%, thanks to improved investment management and general insurance inflows in South Africa. Headline earnings per share, however, fell by 2%, but the group reported a 14% rise in the net result from financial services as it benefited from strong contributions from general insurance, life insurance, credit and structuring. Looking ahead, the company is positive about continued excellent results for the second half of the year. Anglo American has raised 44.1 billion rand from the sale of its remaining stake in Valterra Platinum. The miner sold over 52 million Valterra shares at 845 rand per share. That's at a 9.3% discount to Valterra's closing price of yesterday. The 44 billion rand cash injection comes during Anglo's radical portfolio restructuring, which has run into expensive hiccups. Anglo plans to focus the group solely on copper, iron ore and fertilizer. In the meantime, CEO Duncan Wanblad praises Valterra for a strong start as a standalone company. Pan-African Resources expects glittering annual results. The gold miner anticipates that its headline earnings per share will rise by as much as 47% for the period. The increase will primarily be driven by a near 45% jump in revenue. This despite the group not benefiting fully from prevailing gold prices due to hedging transactions. Pan-African will open its books next Wednesday, the 10th of September. Trelidor will pay shareholders a dividend for the first time in 4 years after cutting its debt load. The security barriers manufacturer has declared a gross payout of 12 cents and says it's managed to reduce its debt by over 38% to 71.3 million rand. Despite that dividend resumption, the group's bottom line came under pressure. Headline earnings per share slipped over 12% amid lower revenue by Trelidor's UK division. Talks to sell ArcelorMittal's SA unit to the IDC have stalled. That's according to a Bloomberg News report, which attributes this to valuation differences. Offers of as much as 7 billion rand have been put on the table, but the steelmaker wants considerably more than what's on offer. In March, the IDC gave ArcelorMittal a near 2 billion rand cash injection to help defer the closure of the unit. The market remains hopeful that an agreement on the fate of the company will be reached before the end of the due diligence report on the 30th of September. Large volumes of South African exports to the UK are still paying full duties, this despite a trade deal that should grant tariff-free access. The economy is billions of rands due to this era. In 2024, the country paid nearly 3 billion rand for vehicle exports to the UK at a 10% tariff, which should have been zero-rated. White wine exports along with fruits and nuts also missed the preferential duty-free access, paying a 4% tariff. The UK is South Africa's second largest agricultural export partner and fourth largest source of imports. And while the UK is unsure about why this is happening, South Africa's Trade Department is working on fixing the problem. In international news, a potential loss in the Supreme Court tariffs case could force the US to scrap trade deals with the European Union, Japan and South Korea, among others, warns President Donald Trump, potentially causing significant economic harm to the US. Here's more detail in this package report.
Donald Trump says the US may have to unwind trade deals with the EU, Japan and South Korea if the Supreme Court rules against it on tariffs. The US president says his administration will ask justices to reverse an appeals court ruling that found many of the duties he imposed were illegal. It's the first time he's suggested the case could derail the trade deals, which were negotiated separately from the tariffs.
Our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
Analysts said the comments appeared intended to put pressure on justices before they consider the case. The Supreme Court has a 6-3 majority of Republican-appointed members. That could boost Trump's chances of getting the verdict he wants, but it's far from guaranteed. Legal experts say it's hard to call what will happen, given the unprecedented nature of the case. The appeals court ruling focused on Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs, as well as separate duties imposed in February on China, Canada and Mexico. It excludes other levies, such as those on imported metals, which have a different legal basis.
Meanwhile, Alibaba, ByteDance and other Chinese tech firms remain keen on NVIDIA's artificial intelligence chips, despite regulators in Beijing strongly discouraging them from such purchases. Let's take a look.
Chinese firms still want NVIDIA artificial intelligence chips despite government pressure not to buy. That's what sources have told Reuters. The sources said tech giants like Alibaba and ByteDance, among others, want reassurances that orders of NVIDIA's H20 model are being processed. NVIDIA regained permission from the US government to sell the H20 to China in July. Sources added Chinese firms are also closely monitoring the US firm's plans for a more powerful chip named the B30A. One said it promises to be up to 6 times more powerful than the H20. Both chips are downgraded versions of models sold outside China and developed specifically to comply with US export restrictions. The extent to which China can have access to cutting-edge AI chips is a key point of tension with the US. China made up 13% of NVIDIA's revenue in the past financial year. But Beijing wants to move its tech industry off US chips. Sources said Chinese authorities have summoned companies including Tencent and ByteDance over their purchases of the H20. They reportedly asked them to explain their reasons for buying and expressed concerns over information risks. The companies haven't been ordered to stop buying NVIDIA products.